Hi, my name is Lauren Regan, and in this video I'm going to share with you my mind mapping technique that I use at the start of every single day. This was shared with me by my ADHD coach, and for me, as soon as I got started using this method, it was an absolute game changer. It's a great way to get all of your thoughts out of your head and onto paper, which means you don't have to have all of those thoughts running through your head all day and you're not panicking about forgetting something. Often with ADHD, when we're trying to get on with something, we constantly have the little thoughts that pop into our heads like, oh, I mustn't forget this or I mustn't forget that. And that actually interrupts our thought pattern. And it's kind of a way, I believe, for our brains to be trying to create that dopamine that we lack. And it's almost like it's constantly trying to stimulate our brains by panicking that we're going to forget about something. And then that obviously takes us off task. So with mind mapping, it allows you to get all of your thoughts out of your head and down onto paper. This means you don't need to be worried about forgetting something because you've got it all written down. And then you can tell that little voice in your head, don't worry, I've got it written down, I'm not going to forget it. It also means that you can get all of the stuff out of your head and have a look at it and prioritise and ask yourself, is this important? Does it actually have to be done today? You can see all of the tasks that need to be done. So rather than the one that's loudest in your head taking priority, you can actually have a look at it on paper with all of the other tasks and you can make a decision whether it's the most important. Because often with ADHD, we want to do the most exciting task or the most stimulating task. And that might be the easiest task. It might be doing the washing up. But if you've got a report to write for work, that's not that helpful. And your ADHD brain does not want to sit down for 4 hours and write a report. It wants to do the washing up. And there may be a bit of dusting. And then there might be some washing you can do because it's a quick, easy task and it will create that dopamine hit because you feel like you're achieving. And it allows you to keep that dopamine going. But if you've got a report due at the end of the day, those tasks are not the most important tasks. So having it all out in front of you allows you to make an informed decision about what is best, rather than allowing your ADHD brain to take over and do what it wants to do. I view it as having a child. My ADHD is my child, and I love my child. It's fun, it's my best friend, and it has so many superpowers. But it is not always the best decision maker, and it's got me into a lot of trouble. Like saying things that I probably shouldn't say, not getting tasks done because I decided that the housework is more important. Then I've ended up with the drawers being left out that need organising, or I've completely forgotten that I've started a task and started another massive task in another room. And by the end of the day, it's just absolute chaos. So mind mapping is a way to allow your adult self to take control of the day, make an informed decision about what the objective of the day is, what the priority is, and what needs to be done. And the way that we do this is by breaking it down into different areas. So for example, home might be one of them. What needs to be done around the home? Work. What are the items that you need to do or you're worried about in terms of work, and what are your upcoming deadlines? Relationships. Is there someone that you've been meaning to reach out to that you haven't, or you keep thinking that you should really make time for your partner or your kids or a friend that you haven't spoken to in ages? So it's really important that we maintain our relationships with others, and sometimes we can get carried away with other stuff. So life happens, we hyper focus on stuff and we neglect our relationships. But we really need to nurture those important relationships because connection is super important. Another one is well-being. Yes, you're busy. Yes, you've got that report to write. Yes, all the stuff needs to be done at home and you might want to be maintaining those relationships. But are you looking after your well-being? Burnout is a massive issue for people with ADHD, and especially if you're going through the menopause or perimenopause, it can become exacerbated and you might burn out more easily than you previously did. So you need to make sure that you're checking in with yourself and making sure that you're managing your well-being and having that work-life balance. You might also have another project on the go. So you might be like me where you're working, but you also have a business that you're trying to manage. So if you're trying to do that at the same time, there will be things that you need to consider. So I separate them out, and there's different times of the days where I might work on different projects, or different days of the week where I might focus on the different work that I do. So we put all of these different things down into their own little sections. So that's a little bit of an understanding of why we might want to mind map and the different areas we might want to focus on. If you have other areas that you want to focus on, then you can add those in as well. I'm now going to show you a live demonstration of me mind mapping my day to day so you can get an idea of the sorts of things that I cover and the process. Hi, so now I'm going to show you an example of how I mind map, and this is going to be a live demonstration of me mind mapping everything that's in my head today that I need to get done. And before I get started, I just want to point out that there are 6 sections that normally I would put my thoughts into, so 6 different areas, but you wouldn't necessarily put down all of these 6 areas. Yours might be slightly different, and I wouldn't necessarily have things that I'm worried about or in my head for all of these areas every day. So it might be a combination of different ones, but this is just to highlight that within these 6 sections, normally everything that I'm thinking about or worrying about can fit into one of these categories, and it just simplifies it. You want this to be as simple as possible, because if you make it too difficult and complicated, it's much more likely you're going to give up and not use it every day. The reason I use it every day is because it's just such a simple process. It's actually easier than managing all the thoughts in my head. So try not to overcomplicate it too much. So the 6 areas that most of your thoughts could probably fit into would be, first one would be well-being. Within well-being, it can be anything to do with making yourself feel better. So for me, my non-negotiables are meditation, having my smoothie with 20 grams of protein in the morning, and having a shower. And I'll explain when I do my mind map why those are my non-negotiables and how that's helpful. Things like creative projects also come under well-being. So people with ADHD often need to have a creative outlet, otherwise life can become very boring. So things like my embroidery project that I'm doing, maybe playing the PlayStation, those sorts of things, going for a walk in nature, all of those things can come under well-being. Next would be home. And under home can be anything to do with the home. So it might be tidying up. It might be, I don't know, fixing a stool that you've noticed got a wobbly leg. All of those things that are in your head to do with your home that you're like, oh, I really need to be doing that. Cleaning the oven. We all love to clean the oven when we've got a report to write. Yeah, go figure, or we're just about to leave the house. Next one is relationships. So carving time out for relationships. So, you might be thinking, oh, I need to call somebody, or I really need to make time for this person. I've got a wedding next weekend, so I need to make sure that I go to buy a present. So that's something that's on my mind. So anything to do with your relationships that's buzzing around in your head that might distract you whilst you're trying to focus on your task for the day. Next is finance. So anything to do with money. It might be paying a bill. It might be just checking on your finance. It might be creating a plan for your finance. People with ADHD can sometimes be quite frivolous with money and find it really difficult to manage money. I had a really difficult period about 7 years ago. I got into a lot of financial difficulty. I was always quite bad with money. And I really, really have worked on that. And I'll do another video where I talk about specifically how I manage my finances, because for me, that's been an absolute game changer and has created a lot of financial freedom for me. The next area would be work. So if you are doing a 9-to-5 job and you've got tasks that you need to get done on a weekday, then you would put in, or whatever day it is that you're working, if you've got work projects that you're worried about, or even on the weekend, if you're thinking about work projects, if it's in your head, put it down, get it out of your head and onto the paper. And then the last one for me is my business. So I work and I also have my business that I'm managing. So I keep them separate because I work on them at different times of the day, and I also work on them at different days of the week as well. So that's the 6 sections that you would probably find that would work for you as well. Like I say, if you've got any extras, feel free to add them in, but just keep it as simple as possible so that you can have all of your thoughts trying to fit into these areas. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to start with well-being. So the first thing you would do is start getting all of your thoughts out of your head onto paper on the right-hand side here. I always start with well-being, and my non-negotiables are to meditate, have my smoothie, and to have a shower. And the reason why these are on here every single day are because when I'm having a really, really bad day, I know that if I only do those 3 things, that is going to help me to get started. So if I'm really struggling, like on a Monday morning when I've got that overwhelm, if I just focus on just doing those 3 things, that is going to get me started and more likely going to get me able to do the other tasks that I need to get done. So by putting it on there every day, even when I'm feeling great, it just is a little reminder. It becomes part of my routine. Then I don't need to think too much about it when I'm already got brain fog and I'm already feeling paralyzed from overwhelm. And this goes back to a period of time when I was undiagnosed. I was really, really depressed. And for me, just getting out of bed and having a shower was actually a win. So it might sound silly to put down having a shower as like, yay, I've done something great today. But for me, actually, that's just a reminder that there were days when just having a shower was a real struggle for me. And occasionally now I do still have days like that. And again, if you're doing all of this when you're feeling best, in your best frame of mind, it's much easier. You've got that support in place already when you're not having a great day. So those are the things that I've got in my head that I always put down. Other things I want to do, I do want to work on my sewing project and my embroidery project, and I'd like to play. I've got a game on the PlayStation that I'd like to play. So that's in my head. It's always in my head, like, oh, I want to make time for that. Also, just to note, you're putting all of this down. It doesn't mean it all gets done. It's just all the things that are in your head that might be distracting you throughout the day. Next for me today is relationships. Because as I mentioned, I do have a wedding. So I need to buy a wedding gift. I've got a wedding coming up. And I also need to message my friend. Okay. And later on, I'm meeting another friend. So I'll put that down there so I know that's in my head. I don't need to be worrying about what time that is. Next, I've got finance. So I do just want to check in on my finances. So just want to check my finance plan and see if I'm on track. I've also got some stuff that I want to sell on eBay. So I want to add the items to eBay to sell. And then today for my business, which is Lauren Regan Coaching, I'll just put LRC. If you can abbreviate stuff, as long as you know what it is, just like I say, make it as speedy and as quick as possible. So for my business, I want to create this mind mapping video. I then need to edit it. I've also got to post on Instagram. And I also need to create my YouTube channel. And then I also need to add the video to my website. Okay, and then the last one for me today is home, because I really, really, really need to tidy up. And I'm just going to put tidy up there. Now, I would sometimes break that down even further. So you could put, like, sometimes I'll put dust, hoover, wash up. I might sometimes break it down into separate rooms. If there's a room that's particularly bad, I might put it into separate rooms. But I know today that the whole place needs doing, so I'm just going to have to do all of the rooms and try not to be chaotic about it. Right, okay, so now I've got all of the thoughts out of my head onto paper. I can have a look and I can kind of now try and work out what is important, what's urgent, what needs to be done immediately. Okay, so now we're going to look at all the stuff that we've got out of our heads, and we're going to use the Eisenhower matrix to decide whether things are urgent, like prioritize. Let's work out what needs to be done first. So you've got here in the top left, you've got the word urgent. Next to it, we've got not urgent. And then along the side here, we've got important and not important. So the things here in the top left are both urgent and important. So those are the things that need to be done. They have to be done and they need to be done today. That's your priority list. Then on the right hand side here, we've got, it's not urgent, but it is important. So you place a high value on it, but it doesn't need to be done right now. So these might be things that are really important, but are for next week, but they're in your head because you know they're important things. Then we've got in the bottom left, we've got things that are urgent, but not important. So you don't place high value on them, or they're not really the main tasks that need to be done, but they are urgent. So these are things like when you're working in a 9 to 5, if you're managing a team, these might be things that other people are asking for. So it's not necessarily high importance on your list, but they are important for somebody else, and they're saying that it's urgent, they need it. Now, these are the sorts of tasks when you're managing a team that you can delegate. These should be the sorts of things you're delegating to others, because if you're spending all your time doing things that are urgent for somebody else but not important to you, that doesn't leave you enough time to do the things that are urgent and important for you. In the home, these might be things that you can get your kids to help out with, or whoever else lives in the home. Maybe, you know, the housework or whatever needs to be done. It's got really messy, but actually you've got a deadline for work, or you've got a deadline for your business. Maybe there's someone else in the household that can help out with that. So these are things that you can delegate. Then when we move across, we're going to look at the not important and not urgent. So these are things like, I don't know, I've been thinking recently, I need to sort the stuff out in my attic. Like, it's not really that important. It's been in the attic for years. It's up there. And it's not really urgent. There's no reason why I really need to do it, but it's just one of those little jobs that, you know, every now and then it pops in your head. So if that's something that's playing on my mind, I would put that down. Sort out attic, just to get it out of my head, so I'm not spending all day being distracted, because sometimes our minds can be like, you know, we're doing this boring report or something we don't want to do, and there's that little voice in the head like, you could go in the attic and start sorting the stuff out, because your brain knows that it's going to get loads of dopamine from that, because it's just a novelty thing to do. So it's about trying to train your brain and not allow that little ADHD child to take over. So I always think of my ADHD as my little child, and all of this stuff here that comes out is like, this is all the stuff the child wants to do. It's like, yeah, it wants to do everything. But then this process for me is the adult part of me then saying, okay, we want to do all of this stuff, but let's have a look and see what's realistic. Let's have a look and see what we do need to do, and then work out what we can do. So once we've done the things that we do need to do that have to be done, the adult stuff, then we can see if there's time for the other stuff to happen. So once you've transferred the stuff into your Eisenhower table, you can then start working out, okay, whatever's in the urgent and the important box needs to be done. Now, this is also a really good way. If you've got all of your stuff in urgent and important, it's a red flag. You are leaving things to the last minute. And hopefully by doing this process more and more, you won't keep having everything that's urgent and important. Because if it's all urgent and important, that means you're leaving everything to the last minute. You're massively procrastinating, which is an issue for people with ADHD. But hopefully by looking at these things, you can kind of see, actually, no, this is not that helpful, because you're going to have high levels of stress if everything is urgent and important. And then things like relationships are going to get left to the wayside, because you're going to have to prioritize something. And if you've got deadlines for work or business, and you're leaving everything urgent and important, then you're going to lose something that should be as an important, like maybe your creative stuff or the home stuff, relationships. All of that stuff's going to start to crumble. So we're going to put in today's date. And I know today that today's objective for today, for me, is to get this video done. So I want to get it edited. I want to get it up so that I can encourage people to join me on Monday for Monday motivation. So I know that my mind mapping video is most important to me today. And normally, you would have a sense of what is important to you. Now, I'll do different things. Sometimes it's just be kind to myself. Sometimes it's go for a walk. Like, you choose on that day what is most important to you. What do you really need to feel fulfilled at the end of that day? Sometimes it's not a task. Sometimes it's something just like self-care that's needed. And I will do another video where I talk about the needs list and being able to tap into what it is we need. Because again, I think people with ADHD, because we're often on a driver and just go, 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 we sometimes struggle with knowing what it is that we need. And for me, meditation helps me to just calm my mind, take control a little bit more, and really tap into my soul and kind of work out what is it that I need today. Because sometimes we do things and react because we need something and we're not actually realizing we're acting out. So anyway, what we then do is we move our tasks from our Eisenhower table into a timetable. So what you want to try and do is have everything chunked down into 30-minute tasks. So for example, I'm just going to do mind mapping video. I know that I need to do the mind mapping video today. I need to edit the video. And I need to add the video to website. Okay, so if that's all I do today, that is my urgent stuff. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to then start putting it in to my boxes. So you can add it either to your to-do list. I am going to put in meditate smoothie and shower at the top because I always put those first. Like I say, they're my non-negotiables. Sometimes, like I have already meditated this morning, I'll still put it down because then I get a little tick and I like to have that dopamine hit. So I'm then going to add into here the times that I'm going to do this. So started this at 9:30, so I'm just going to block out mind mapping video. I've given myself an hour for that to create the video. Then I'm going to be editing the video. That'll probably take about another hour. And then I'm going to allow an hour to upload it to the website just because things always take longer than you think. Okay, so now you can see, I now can see that I'm busy until at least 12:30 doing the objective of today. So that first chunk of the day, I can see that time's gone. So I can't, you know, sometimes someone will message me like, oh, do you want to meet for lunch at 12? I'm like, yeah. And then I've realized, actually, no, I'm not going to be finished till 12:30. And again, that cycle of panic sets in where we're all chaotic and we're always chasing our tails. This just allows you to take control of your day and see, do I have time for this? Yes or no? Is there a better time of the day when I'm not going to be so busy? Chunking it out in this way also allows me to use a Pomodoro technique. Now, the Pomodoro technique is where you focus for 20 to 25 minutes and then have a 5-minute break. You then focus again, have a 5-minute break, focus again, 5-minute break, focus again, 5-minute break. So you do it 4 times and then you have a longer break. So I know by the time I get to 12:30, I'm going to need a longer break because my brain would have been doing a lot of work. Now, we can focus for around 20 minutes. And after that, even if you're pushing through and trying to hyper focus, actually, you're not doing yourself any benefits because your productivity is going down. Your brain can't actually focus. So you need to take a 5-minute break. Picking up your phone and scrolling through your phone is not a 5-minute break because you're adding more stimulation to your brain. Maybe stretching, standing up, stretching, making a cup of tea, going to the bathroom, just doing a little pottering around. So maybe within that 5 minutes, I can put the washing on that I've got to do, which I forgot to put on my list actually. And then you can maybe go for a walk or, you know, just do something that's getting you outside of your head. Go and stand in the garden if you have a garden. But yeah, don't picking up your phone or just Googling something isn't having a break. You want to take yourself away from the computer. If you're working on the computer, if you're working on a project, move away from it and come back. Right, so that allows me to break that down. I can then make sure that I've added them to my list. And I would add all of those things to my list. Excuse my handwriting. Like I've said before, like this is just do it as quick as possible. You're not worrying about what it looks like as long as you can read it. I'm going to put in here my lunch break to make sure I take a break. that is also an issue with people with ADHD. We can sometimes hyperfocus if we're doing something we enjoy or we're getting a lot of dopamine from. And I don't know about you, but I will often forget to eat because I'm just so focused on what I'm doing that the hunger just dissipates. And then, yeah, that can cause all sorts of problems. Maybe not today, but tomorrow for sure. Unless I'm fasting, then yeah, you need to be making sure that you're taking breaks and having something to eat, or just taking time out from your head, being on a laptop all day. Okay, so that's basically what I do. Obviously, the rest of the stuff I would then also map it out. I would add it to my to-do list, work out the timings of the day. This is a really great way, like I say, to prioritize using the Eisenhower method, break it down into the Pomodoro, into the 25-minute chunks, but also allow me to see what my day looks like. Because if I'm realizing that I'm putting all this stuff in and I'm working till 9, that's not healthy. So it allows you to really see what you're doing. Because I don't know if you're like me, but before I used this method, there were days when I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was doing stuff, but the day just ran away with me. And then I don't feel great because I'm like, I've been working all day, but what have I actually achieved? I couldn't see what I'd achieved. I would hyper focus on stuff, get distracted by things that I'm not supposed to be doing. So for example, when I'm doing the editing of this video, I'm going to be on the computer. If something pops up or something pops up on my phone, I can so easily get distracted. I might be like, oh, let me just Google this, or let me look at that. Then before I know it, 20 minutes later, I'm looking at some random thing and I'm like, this is nothing to do with what I was supposed to be doing. What was I supposed to be doing? When I've got this, I don't need to be racking my brain trying to work out what I was doing. I just look back at my list and I go, right, what time is it? What was I doing? What am I supposed to be working on? It allows you to just get your mind back to what was I supposed to be doing. So think of that little ADHD child running around and you're the adult. This here is your adult that reminds you you're not supposed to be running around playing. This is time for us to be doing this now. So that's how I use it. I really hope that you find it helpful. And yeah, join me on Monday Motivation if you want to go through this in a live session, ask any questions, and then be held accountable for what your objective is for that day. So now that you've seen the demonstration, I hope that you found it useful and you can now give mind mapping a go yourself. If you want accountability with sticking at this, I'm running a Monday motivation session online on Monday at 10 a.m. for 30 minutes, where I'll go through this mind mapping technique again and we can plan out our day together live and then hold each other accountable for achieving our objectives. I'm also running an in-person workshop on Saturday the 5th of October in Brixton, where I share this technique and a load of others that I use to manage my ADHD and perimenopause symptoms. And you can sign up to both on the coaching and workshops page on my website.